Hello, I'm Teresa Campbell and welcome to Transform. Join me as we explore the lives of two ordinary individuals who overcame extraordinary obstacles. Their stories will inspire you to fearlessly face any obstacle standing in your way. So Vicky, you've heard that saying, in a perfect world, ... You describe for me, what is a perfect world?
A perfect world is a big house, a white picket fence, a husband, the kids, the car, the dog.
Would you say you've lived in a perfect world?
No.
Okay, why don't you tell us a little bit about your life?
My life started out rough. So I had an alcoholic father who was abusive, mentally, physically. His wife was just as bad. I'm a product of an affair.
You were a product of an affair.
Yes.
So your mother and father, which one was married, or were they both?
My father was married.
Your father was married to someone else.
Yes.
And met your mom.
Right.
Okay, and then they had you.
Yes.
Okay. Were you around both of them growing up?
I lived with my mom.
Okay.
And I didn't really have anything to do with my dad until I was about 4 years old.
Okay.
And then and my dad started coming around and wanted one visitation. Mm-hmm. So I had court ordered to go with him every other weekend.
And was his wife there?
Yes.
Vicky grew up in a tumultuous environment that seemingly got worse and worse every day.
My stepmom was very abusive, both physically and mentally.
What effect did that have on you for someone to speak to you in that way and you were forced to go and be with them?
It was hurtful. It really takes down your esteem. Mm-hmm. You really feel like you're not wanted, mm-hmm. and you're not worthy. Mm-hmm. You're not enough. And I never could understand, like, why does she hate me so much? I don't understand.
So, and you weren't realizing it was because you were a product of an affair.
Right. I didn't know
at that time.
She displayed on a daily when I was there how much she hated me and how much she wished I would just go away.
Vicky's stepmom reached her boiling point, and she did something no one expected.
6 years old, she sold me.
Who sold you?
My stepmom.
So it was your stepmom.
Yeah.
Your stepmom sold you.
Yeah.
Explain that.
There was one weekend I went over there. My dad was drunk. He hit me and knocked me out. And the next day when I woke up, my stepmother said, "Get dressed, we're leaving." We went to the store. She met a guy in the store and he handed her $300 and she handed him my hand and she left.
Okay, how old were you at this time?
I was 6.
You were 6 years old.
6 years old.
Did you understand what was going on when an exchange took place? Like you saw the money?
Mm-hmm. She said today was a great day because she would never have to see me again in her life.
And what were you thinking when she said that? Like where?
I was scared.
Okay.
I just wanted my mom at that point. I didn't know what to do.
So this was with a weekend visit or
Mm-hmm.
one of your visits, and
Yeah.
during that weekend,
Yeah.
she sold you to a stranger?
Yes.
And he was a male?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened?
The security guard of the store stepped in when we were leaving the store, and he said, "She doesn't belong to you." And grace of God, he stopped him, called the police. I went home with my grandmother that night, my mom and my grandmother that night, and never had to see my dad again. My mom decided that she didn't want to be around my grandmother. My grandma was a very strong Christian woman. My mom was not in her faith. She didn't want to be around it, so she decided to pack us up and leave. We went to Nevada, and she tried to find a job. She couldn't find one, so she got a tent. We lived in a tent, and she finally found a job in this little town.
So how long did you live in the tent?
A year.
1 year.
1 year.
After living in a tent for a year and not going to school, Vicky lost all hope.
My mom found one of her friends that worked with her, their sons babysat us, and her 2 sons would molest me while my mom worked at night. They used to call me their practice toy for when they would get with their girlfriends.
Your practice toy?
Yeah, it was their practice toy.
And what did your siblings say? Were they around?
They didn't know. It was always when everybody was sleeping.
Okay.
That's when they would come in.
Okay. Okay.
So.
Mom found out eventually?
Mom found out because I told her I want to go home to my grandma. And she said that's not a possibility. And I told her then I'll just kill myself.
How did you try killing yourself?
I got a knife and cut my arms. And I ended up going home to my grandma after that.
Was she aware of the things that had happened?
Yes. She was a little angry that I tried to commit suicide. She said, no matter what you go through, God is always there. And he'll always take care of you. You never chicken out. You stay strong. I went with a friend, a so-called friend, to a party, which I knew all along that it was a bad idea, but I did it anyway.
Right.
And I ended up getting left alone at that party, and I ended up getting raped at the party. And found out afterwards that I was pregnant. And
Did you keep the child?
yes.
You did keep the child?
I did keep him, yes. He's 29 years old today, so he's an awesome kid. He's a blessing.
And so what happened after that? Did you ever get into, a real relationship?
I did. I met my husband. We were together 13 years total.
You were together for 13 years total. Okay.
Yeah. Up until he passed away.
So what happened?
We were married. We were doing good. I got pregnant with my other son. So I had another little boy, and then I got pregnant again with my daughter. Life was little struggle, but it was good.
Mm-hmm. After the passing of Vicky's grandmother, things began to really fall apart.
My mom passed, my mother-in-law passed, my grandmother passed, and
all within what time?
They all passed away in 2008, all within 3-4 weeks apart. July of 2010, my brother passed away. And then my husband was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. 6 months later, he passed away. I started to think I wasn't meant to be happy. I wasn't meant to have a good life. I stayed strong through everything. I held on to my faith the whole time, and then you took my husband. So I was angry for a while. And one day my son came to me, he was 4, and he said, "Why did God take my dad? Why didn't he take somebody else's dad? Why didn't he take a bad dad? My daddy was good." And it made me more angry. I went out to my car and I screamed at the top of my lungs to God, like, "Why'd you do this?" And his response was, "I didn't take your rock. The rock is still standing. She just took her eyes off of me."
Yeah.
At that moment, that song Footprints in the Sand came on, and I realized that you got to get back on your faith. It's a trial, And I had the best defense lawyer, but I took my eyes off of him. And we went back to church that Sunday, and we've been back at church ever since. And life is good.
Life is
Life
good.
is good.
So it was during that process of going back to church was when you began to really deal with all of those things?
Yes.
And so what happened?
I went back to church. My kids were happy again. I met an awesome guy at church, and life is just great. I'm engaged to be married.
Look at that smile. Look at that smile.
Yes, I'm at peace. I have my peace.
So we started out in a perfect world. Life would be, you fill in the blank and tell us what life is going to be for your future.
My future is going to be full of blessings because I have God first. I have an awesome man of God that's going to be my future husband. I have my kids. I have the house. I have life. God will take you on the path. He'll get you on the right street. Pull over, let him drive.
I like that. Pull over.
Pull over and let him drive.
Pull over, scoot over, and let him drive. Remember, God will use what hurt you to help heal you. And the mess that you went through becomes your message of victory to the world around you. I'm Teresa Campbell. Be transformed.